Welcome along to Betting Weekly Extra Time European Edition. You with Dan Roebuck as usual, Steve Wyss and James Easton alongside me. Fellas, brilliant week from both of you when it came to the live show, Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and so on. Not quite sure how you got the McKennie headed goal, Steve, but well done. I mean, where do you find things like that? I mean, you know, we talk about stats a lot and you know, we look for trends, but that's just a bit of natural knowledge, isn't it? How are you, and well done?
Well, thank you very much, Dan, and I'm doing really well, thanks. Hope you two guys are really good as well. Hello to all the watchers and listeners. And I say, what a week it's been on the channel. There's been winners everywhere. You know, for me personally, it was such an exciting week with Bodo Glimt on Tuesday, beyond my wildest dreams, and then, you know, Weston McKennie is finally forgiven for his lead sins, and I think that's where it originated, Dan. Honestly, look, no one really played well in that era for Leeds, but he was one of the most laziest and worst-looking players we've ever had in the Premier League at that point. But one thing I do remember about him is he was dangerous from set pieces. He has a great leap on him, and do you know what? He has improved a hell of a lot since those Leeds days. You know, I think, was it Clarence Seedorf was comparing him to himself after the Juventus match in midweek, and look, he has kicked on. One thing I've always done in life, you got to give credit where credit's due, and someone can improve dramatically sometimes, and that's what he's done. You know, he's at a level now where you would confidently back him, but he leaps like a salmon, and he is so dangerous in the air. So that's where it came from. And when Bet Rivers are offering 13-1, then you know I've got to take it. So. But it was a great week all round. Europa, me and James yesterday really enjoyed that show. I think I'm on the verge of a banning order from all Polish stadiums. But apart from that, and Fiorentina were nearly in my bad books forever. But they managed to just turn it around there last night. I'd have had massive egg on my face.
Oh dear, yeah, incredible, yeah. Go back and look at the Thursday live show. Don't if you're an extra class fan. James, you hit the Daily Double on Thursday. Good midweek for you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, we did a great show yesterday, me and Steve. For all that Steve is owning up there to having had a pop at the Polish teams, there were some good picks as well from Steve on that show yesterday. And he's absolutely right. It's been across the board, hasn't it? Because the Champions League shows were great, both the preview stuff and the in-running stuff and the after-show stuff. So plenty of content, and it's that time of season when obviously all the competitions are up for grabs. I personally find it a little bit easier now to pick out the winners. So let's hope we can keep this run going.
The boys showed a bit of profit on this show as well last week. 5 of the last 6, just small profits, but little incremental gains will hopefully push us towards a profitable season. Plenty to discuss, an awful lot of games to get through for this show. There's a lot of links, there's a lot of picks as well. So get your pen and paper ready, or your account open, both. Get your comments in on YouTube as well. Subscribe and like to the channel. We're going to start with Inter, Steve, because we've got an official pick here, and it's a good place to start because obviously the Champions League fallout, knocked out of Europe's premier club competition by Bodo Glimt. The Gazzetta headline was Senza Scusi, which means no excuses. They are minus 385, though, to bounce back against Genoa here. I don't think anyone's going to be taking them really on the money line, but there's going to be a big focus on them. They're miles clear in the race for the Scudetto. I don't think they're going to slip up, but you have got an official play here. How are Inter going to tackle this game, do you think?
Well, I think we might see the most fired up possible Inter for this game. That they have to have a reaction after getting beat by Bodo Glimt 5-2 on aggregate. And, you know, really, it's quite an embarrassment for a club of their stature. Serie A has been in the mud this week, hasn't it? There's been a lot of criticism about it. Atalanta kind of gave them a little bit of respectability back. But, you know, how good is Serie A? How bad is Serie A? That's probably a debate for another day. But, you know, Inter, I think what we do know domestically is they dominate. They're the best team in this league. And I'm fully expecting them now, after that result, to come out, you know, out of the traps very, very quickly. So for me, it makes sense to back the goals. We've been backing the goals in Genoa games anyway. This time we've got to go quite a bit higher on the goal line to 2.75 at minus 115. I think over 2.5 goals is minus 152, or was the last time I checked. Nothing wrong with that for those who like straight over and under lines. Because Inter could very well cover this goal line all by themselves. I don't think it's the sort of game where if they come out of it winning 1-0, that everything's rosy in the garden again. In fact, they'll probably be criticised for it. So I think they come out and get potentially quite a big win. Genoa, from their part, we know they've got goals in them these days. And we know they're much more attack-minded, and maybe they can spring a shock. Say they get the first goal, then it really does open things up a bit. But yeah, I'm not going to abandon Genoa overs, and I'm certainly not going to abandon Inter yet. In this position, I mean, both team scores is plus money, and I could see that. I could see that this Inter defense is, when it's put under pressure, like Juventus did that, Bodo Glimt did that, can be a mistake. So I could see something like 3-1 or even 4-1. But Inter's going to be fired up for this game, and they're not just going to stop at 1-0 down, in my opinion. So over 2.75 goals, one unit play.
Yeah, it's a really interesting juxtaposition in many ways, because obviously the Genoa price has been much, much better when we've been following Daniel De Rossi's side recently. Obviously, the line has grown a little bit, but that's because of the opponents as well. And there's a lot of narrative behind this game as well. I still think it's a really smart play to get with overs here for all of the reasons that Steve has just listed. That's Inter versus Genoa. It's 2:45 on Saturday Eastern, incidentally, that one. And Steve's one unit play just under minus money, over 2.75 goals. We have got an official play from James in Serie A as well. Verona against Napoli. Napoli have been out of the Champions League for quite some time. Of course, didn't make the top 24. Shocking run in Europe's top competition for Antonio Conte's side. They're involved in a game away at Verona. It's a midday kickoff on Saturday. Verona are 6-1. Napoli minus 210. The tie at plus 300 here. Still don't know what to do about Napoli at the minute, because they should have taken advantage of their lack of European football since getting knocked out of the Champions League. Their form has been a bit inconsistent, James, but against the bottom sides, as you're going to point out, they usually do the business.
Yes, they do. So I'm kind of with you, Dan, generally speaking there on Napoli. I've been a little bit disappointed by the title defence generally. It's all over, isn't it, really? The title defence in February, they're 14 points off the top spot, so it's not gone the way that they would have hoped, or the way that quite a lot of people thought it might. But I think they will get the job done this weekend. So they're obviously a short price to win it, as you say. They're minus 210. I'm putting one unit on Napoli here on the Asian handicap with a minus 1 goal start, which is available at minus 109. So with that play, as long as Napoli win the game, then you're not going to lose anything. And listen, I feel that if there is a game Napoli are definitely going to win between now and the end of the season, this is probably it, because they are facing a Verona side who are bottom of the table. They've only got 15 points on the board. They're 9 points from potential safety with only 12 games to go. Are Verona already relegated? They probably are. I think they're minus 10,000 in the relegation market with BetRivers. So yeah, what we're talking about here is, on paper, Napoli's easiest away game of the season. And yeah, I think they should get it won, because for all the inconsistency they have shown us this season, they've actually been pretty consistent against the weaker sides. If you look at Napoli's results away from home against the current bottom 8, they've won 4 out of 5. And if you look at their results generally, home and away, against the current bottom 8, they've won 8 out of 10. So I know there are a few concerns about Napoli in terms of team news as well, which people have flagged up in the comments recently. Some very good points made about the fact they are missing players. And, sometimes that will cost you if you've got big players who aren't available. I just think this is the one weekend where Napoli really have to get the win. I think it would be a big surprise, even if they are a little bit below strength, if they can't get the 3 points here away from home against a weak Verona side. And let's not forget, they do need the points, because the Scudetto looks like it is going to Inter, but the race for a top 4 spot is really tight, all the way down to 7th. If you look at Atalanta in 7th place on 45 points, Napoli have only got a 5-point cushion over them. So everything to play for in terms of that top 4 spot, finishing as high as they possibly can. And I think that because of the opposition they're facing this weekend, Napoli really should get the 3 points here. So it's one unit from me, and it's on Napoli, minus 1 goal start on the Asian handicap.
Yeah, you mentioned the team news. I don't think McTominay's going to be back. And Guissa could be, though. And he hasn't played since November. He was a real key component, of course, last season, but he's missed games this term. Be interesting to see the squad news on that one. Let's get to the Bundesliga. We're going to talk Die Klassiker shortly. We've just got thoughts on that rather than anything more definitive. But we have got an official play, and it's a good one as well from Steve. This is a little weekend double. We're moving the daily double onto Saturday and Sunday here, Steve, because the games that we feature, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, Borussia Monchengladbach against Union Berlin, which is a 9:30 a.m. Saturday game, Eastern, and Eintracht Frankfurt against Freiburg, which is Sunday 11:30. So for the purpose of the parlay, you've got to get your bets down here on Saturday morning. I've told everyone the two games. How are we combining them for this weekend double, Mr. Wyss?
Well, the first part of the double is Borussia Mönchengladbach against Union Berlin. Both teams score yes. And then Frankfurt-Freiburg over 2.5 goals. As a single, both of those are at -134. Nothing wrong with that. But I just had a gut feeling to combine these to a double, which comes out at, I think, plus 206. And I'm going to have one full unit on it as well. So, consider this sort of like the hot dog of the days gone by, so to speak. Let's start with the both teams to score in the Gladbach game. This is actually the second biggest odds of the week in the Bundesliga for both teams score yes. And it's very, very attractive because I just don't see either team keeping a clean sheet. Mönchengladbach have 2 clean sheets in 8 games. They haven't won for a while, and the main problem for that is that the defence, which is not reliable enough, for want of a better word. So their offence has to carry them. And I think Union Berlin have fallen into that trap as well. The reputation of Union Berlin is 0-0s and tight unders and stuff. Well, actually, I think every single game bar one, they have conceded a goal in 2026. So they're going away from their traditional sort of thing. They did win 1-0 last week against Leverkusen. There might be a bit of recency bias in these odds, actually, if anything. So both teams' score looks way too big, -134. And then Frankfurt against Freiburg, over 2.5 goals. I mean, what more do I need to say about Frankfurt? Nothing's changed, has it? All season. And I think it's the personnel. I think it's the injuries they've got, the absences they've got. It just makes sense to get on the... You just can't back unders in Frankfurt games anymore at all. I had no idea how I won on that under 1.5 in their game early this season, Dan. Like, seriously, that was just my lucky day, wasn't it? But, against Freiburg, now Freiburg can be a bit inconsistent, can't they? But if you look throughout the whole season, goals trends are generally quite high. They've got a threat. And I think if you're backing overs in a match, any team that's got a threat, you're going to be quite confident. And they're going to feel confident against this defence. So, really good-looking double for me. Borussia, Mönchengladbach, Union Berlin, both teams score yes. Eintracht Frankfurt against Freiburg, over 2.5 goals, plus 206 double for one unit.
Lovely. Eintracht Frankfurt stats are incredible. I was just looking here. They've conceded 49 goals this season. Only Heidenheim at the foot of the table have conceded more, but Eintracht Frankfurt have scored 46. Only the top 3 have scored more. What more do you want for an overs team? Let's talk about Die Klassiker. Just some thoughts on it. We know it's the big game. People will be wanting a betting interest in this. Steve, 12:30 Saturday for Dortmund against Bayern. Dortmund are plus 370, Bayern minus 177. I mean, Dortmund must be hurting after their Champions League exit. Is this a good game for them to try and bounce back in? It's always a difficult game, but they've always got a chance. You always sense that they do, but this is the shortest price that Bayern have been to win this fixture in the Bundesliga. And since I don't know when, my records go back to the late 90s. I can't find a shorter price. They were short of Bayern to beat Dortmund in a Pokal fixture back in 2008. I mean, is this a good opportunity or not for Dortmund? Are they still going to be swept aside? What are your general thoughts on it?
Well, I don't have a good record betting in this fixture. It will come as no surprise to you, Dan. Borussia Dortmund are involved. They're just not a team I ever get right. They do things differently to how my logical brain sees it. And the logical side of things here points towards a Bayern easy win, doesn't it? Dortmund have just played extra time against Atlanta, got beaten. Really, really sickening loss for them. Sorry, they didn't play extra time, did they? It was a last minute. There's been so much extra time, I'm getting mixed up with my teams. They got beat.
He almost won extra time. Was it about 90 plus 8 or something? Wasn't it? But anyway,
yeah. But anyway, sickening loss. Really bad for them. And the logical side of me thinks that they'll get beaten big, but Dortmund don't never seem to do things the way I expect them to, do they? So you might as well back them, guys, on the money line here, because I don't fancy them this week at all. If they win the game, they're incredibly will only be 5 points behind Bayern in the table, which would be remarkable considering Bayern's season. But I mean, the way I think Bayern either win easily or Dortmund somehow spring the shock. It's like there's almost no in between. The goal line is often a popular bet here, isn't it? With the classic, but what are we at? 3.75? 4?
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 to 3 points. Yeah, it's. I mean, I would go over rather than under. That's for sure. But Dortmund are a weird team. I'm almost, you're almost better off looking at different experts than me with Borussia Dortmund, Dan. So I can't offer too much, unfortunately. See what Malvo's got to say. We were in conversation about this match in DM the other day, and he thinks maybe Dortmund could spring a shock if they're fired up enough. But Bayern are the better team, that's for sure.
James, let's get your thoughts on this one. It's the third biggest price that Bayern have been all season, and you always think, is there a chance to get, with the opposition in situations like this? They were bigger away at Stuttgart and away at Leipzig. In both of those games, they scored 5 goals. So as Steve said, sometimes, you're looking for things that aren't there, and Bayern could just win easy. What's your sort of general De Classica thoughts?
Yeah, they could win easy. -175 to win it. Bayern -1 on the Asian handicap at -107. I think a lot of people will look at that and be interested, because with that pick, as long as Bayern win the game, you're not going to lose. I think the positive for Dortmund, if there is one, is that the first meeting between the sides in the league this season, it was competitive. If you look back at that game in October in Munich, it finished 2-1 to Bayern. So close scoreline. If you look at the XG, yes, Bayern won. You'd expect them to. But Dortmund went completely out of it, and they weren't completely out of it on big chances either. So I think if you are a Dortmund follower and you're trying to find positives, you can almost write off all of those games which Bayern have won by huge margins against other teams and say to yourself, well, listen, we're the second best team in this division. We're a lot better than everybody other than Bayern. And we were actually fairly competitive against them. So that's why I would look at it if I'm going into it as someone who's maybe wanting to back Dortmund. They are as well, we should say, on a very long unbeaten run in the Bundesliga. But I just feel they probably won't fully believe they can get back into this title race. I think 8 points is not huge, but it's almost huge when you consider it's a gap to Bayern. And I do think that midweek exit from the Champions League, against the odds, because they were clear favourites going into that second leg against Atalanta, I do think it's going to be a negative for them, rather than a case of, well, we can now focus on the league, because of course they're massive outsiders to get into this title race. So not a great time psychologically, I don't think, for Dortmund. I wouldn't personally, same as Steve, I wouldn't have a pick or a lean on the game, but instinctively I think Bayern will probably get a narrow win.
Dortmund have only lost once in the Bundesliga this season. That's the reverse fixture which James was referencing. Bayern have won 7 of the last 11 league meetings between the two. 3 draws, 1 Dortmund win. Both teams to score, yes, the last 3 and 9 of the last 11. Over 2.5, 9 of the last 11. Over 3.5, 8 of the last 11. Bayern were minus money over 4.5 last week. I text Steve. I said, surely you can't. He said, well, you wouldn't want to go under, would you? And this is the point, isn't it? We have got an official lean in the Bundesliga. Steve, Leipzig, Hamburg. Maybe an opportunity here for Leipzig to get sort of back towards the top 2. I didn't realise that they slipped to 5th in the league.
Well, I just saw the odds for this game, and it stood out like a sore thumb at Leipzig plus money to beat Hamburg. And, Hamburg are unbeaten in 6 Bundesliga games in a row. But I've said many times, fixtures are king. Okay, they did get that shock draw against Bayern Munich, but the other teams they faced in this period? Gladbach, St. Pauli, Heidenheim, Union Berlin and Mainz. I mean, that's pretty easy, isn't it? As easy as it gets, apart from the Bayern game. So I think Hamburg are due a defeat. I think Leipzig are much the better team. And I think they can get on a run now. I mean, if they don't qualify for the Champions League in a season where they're not even in Europe, it would be appalling from their perspective. They've just had a few niggling things go against them of late. I mean, they blew that 2-0 lead against Dortmund last week. They've been involved in the Pokal as well. Just a bit of inconsistency creeping into their game, a few defensive issues, but this feels the right spot for them to rebound. Plus money, I thought they'd be clear minus money favourites here. So it's a good money line play for me. I mean, I had so many picks on my shortlist this week. I had 13 picks on my shortlist. I can't have 13 official picks. So some just had to make fall from the grave. Well, I could, but that would be just too much work for John and Joe, wouldn't it? Yeah, Leipzig at money line here, plus 115. It is a strong lean for me. I think they get the job done.
Let's go to France, shall we? We've got official picks aplenty. First up, one that James and Steve both agree with. This is Saturday, 11 a.m. It's Rennes against Toulouse. Rennes, a plus 102, the last price that I punched in. I know you guys have listed this as a little bit bigger. I presume it's still a play. James, you're first up with your reasoning here. What's the play, Rennes Toulouse?
Yeah, the play is Rennes on the money line to win the game, Dan. I'm putting 1 unit on this. And they were a little bit bigger. I think earlier in the week they were plus 112 when I saw them. I was absolutely shocked that they were plus money on this game. I think Rennes should be minus money and quite comfortably minus money. I think they're the better side. And there's other reasons why I think they'll get the win this weekend. The first of which is to do with their recent appointment of a new manager. The guy in question being Franck S. Is how you pronounce it, Haise, if anybody sees it written down. He's coming up Rennes with a great reputation. He's been one of the best managers in League One over the past 5 years at Lens and then at Nice. He's done a really good job at both of those clubs. It's almost like a homecoming for him because he was a coach in the youth academy at Rennes many years ago. And he got off to a winning start last weekend. He was in charge for the first time when they were away at Auxerre. And they won that game 3-0 and they won it by half-time with all 3 goals coming in the first half. So I think what you're going to see between now and the end of the season at Rennes is a group of players who are really going to enjoy their football under Francaise, as every squad he's managed has done in League One. He's a great motivator. He's a great tactician. And I think they're going to push on and challenge for a top 4 spot because they've always had the potential to do that. They probably just didn't really realise it in the first half of the season. So really good vibes at Rennes. The crowd will be up for this. It's their first chance as a home crowd to watch the new manager and the players. And I feel that all the momentum is with Rennes against a Toulouse side who are not as good. They're below Rennes in the table. They're without a win in 4 matches in February. They don't ever really seem to believe Toulouse they can push on from mid-table and challenge for a top 6 spot, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. They're 10th, and they've thrown away a couple of chances to move up the table in the last few weeks. And they also have a French Cup quarter-final game next week against Marseille, which I think might be the more important of the 2 games that they've got coming up for the players. That is a competition that the club really like. They won it in 2023. They enjoy having a cup run. I just feel that Toulouse won't be as at it this weekend as a Rennes side who have got a lot more to play for in the league and who are now, I feel, going to be in a really good place mentally under the new manager. So yeah, as I say, I was very surprised that Rennes were plus money. They may shorten, I think, before kickoff, I should say, but I thought they might be something like minus 130 on this game, and I would have taken that. So it's 1 unit from me on whatever price Rennes are. As I say, they were plus 112 earlier in the week, but anything around evens, if you're lucky enough to get that, is definitely worth taking.
1 unit from James and another from Steve.
Yeah, everything James has said, I fully agree with. It's plus 102 now at the time of recording. It might not be. There probably will be minus money by the time this show comes out, and I think they'll kick off about minus 125. But for me, that would still be a bet because I can't believe Rennes have managed to get Franck Haise in as manager. I think it's a brilliant hire. I think they'll finish in the top 4 now. I actually could see them, honestly, getting ahead of Lille and Marseille. He's that good a manager. We know this squad's underperformed for a while. And a word on Toulouse, I said last week they might be the first team on the beach, and I think they kind of are. They've got this French Cup match against Marseille to look forward to. That's the bigger fixture. And, I was stunned it was plus money on Stade Rennes here. It's got to be a 1 unit play on them. And, like I said, I would take them down to minus 130. And, James has said the same there. It looks Rennes look like a great side to be getting on side with for the rest of the season, full stop.
25-1 top three, no top four offers at the minute. Probably top three is probably beyond them, I would have thought, judging from you two. A player prop lean, James, from yourself in this one as well that you want to mention?
Yeah, just very quickly, wanted to flag up in the over 0.5 shots on target market, a player who may be a beneficiary at Rennes of this change of manager. The player in question being Mehdi Kamara, centre midfielder. Watching how Rennes played last weekend, I think he's going to be told very clearly by the new manager to get forward into scoring positions, which is something that wasn't really happening under the last manager, Habib Bey. It's something that Kamara really likes to do, and he was absolutely brilliant at doing it last weekend. He scored twice in that 3-0 win at Auxerre. So I think there's every chance of him playing in exactly the same way this weekend, getting forward and trying to get into scoring positions from either the edge of the box or just inside the box. He's currently, as we're recording, plus 143 to manage just over 0.5 shots on target. You don't need him to score, you just need him to manage a shot on target. I think that's a great price. I think it probably doesn't build in the slight change of role that he may have under Francaise. So I'd personally take anything down to about plus 115, plus 120 on Kamara this weekend. We always say we don't have official units on this market and the prices can change, but keep an eye on Mehdi Kamara this weekend and going forward if he's big prices in this market, because it does look as though he's going to be getting forward from midfield.
Lovely. A player prop to take note of. Next up, two picks from Steve in France here. They're both Sunday, both 11:15 a.m. Sunday, mid-morning. We've talked a bit about both of them to score no in Liga last week. Profitable for 13 of the 18 teams this season, and just in general the whole league if you played it all year. So a couple of picks here from Steve. Lorient, Auxerre first up here, Steve. Lorient are even money favourites, so just a little bit bigger. Auxerre plus 217, danger of going down, and the tie plus 225. Talk us through this one first up.
Well, Auxerre have only scored in one match in 2026 so far, and that was against Metz. They haven't scored a goal in any other fixture. So I know what their game plan's going to be here. At the bottom of the table, I think teams are playing for the 16th spot, which is the playoff position. And it looks at the moment like Auxerre and Nantes are going to be the two teams battling it out. So every point matters. They'll come here to Lorient and just basically park the bus and try and get a 0-0 draw. And you know, Lorient have done well this season, but I think the main reason they've done so well is because they've relished being underdogs in nearly every fixture, and teams underestimate them. And this is actually a rare example of them being a favourite. They're they're what, plus 105? You know, that's not a territory I don't think it's a territory they're that comfortable in, really, Lorient. So they'll struggle to break down a low block, I do believe. I think we're going to get quite a poor game of soccer. Lorient themselves, are they going to be that bothered? They're 9th position now. Their objectives are achieved, really, this season. Incredibly well done to them. And I say, I just think it's going to be such a poor, low-tempo game that 0-0 detectors ringing out, 1-0 to someone. If Auxerre get a goal, they're just going to hang on for dear life. So I think you're looking at an under. Both teams score no, though, at minus 115 on a team that's only scored in one match in 2026. Has to be taken. One unit play.
Plus 650, 0-0, incidentally. Same rules apply then, do they, Steve? Lille, none, same sort of thinking here, or slightly different? It's another Sunday 11:15 game.
Well, it worked for me last week, didn't it? Lille both teams to score no, and also midweek against Red Star. So I'm just going to stick with the same bet. Hope I've chose the right one, because under 2.5 goals was also my main consideration here. Do slightly fear the 1-1 draw, got to be honest. But I think Lille have just played extra time on Thursday. I think they're going to be flat. Another team, they're just not scoring many goals. You know, if we look at them, the only way they look like winning a game right now is 1-0. Keeping a clean sheet and scoring one goal. Their offense just has gone massively downhill in the last couple of months. But their defence is good. I'd say for Lille, they're restricting teams recently. They don't look like conceding goals. And I think, similar to Auxerre, I think Nantes will... Nantes have just had that win last week that really surprised us. I don't really know where it came from, but they delivered a performance against Le Havre. And I believe they'll look at this fixture and think... I'm not sure they'll think of it as a winnable game. I think the tradition is you go away to Lille, a point is a really good outcome. And well, that means defence, doesn't it? You know, you defend against a team that's just played in Europe on Thursday away in extra time. could be flat. This, again, if it ended 0-0, I wouldn't be surprised. Where Lille dominate territorially but just don't put their chances away. Could see them racking up a few corners. I've gone with both teams to score no, just in case Nantes put up an absolute stinker. Because, really, they have been poor for quite some time. Last week might prove to be an anomaly. So if Lille rocked up and randomly won 3-0, I'd be so annoyed. But I'm seeing 0-0. I'm seeing 1-0. Just hope we don't get that 1-1 draw. I mean, Lille could definitely be opposed, by the way. What are they, minus 200 in this game?
225.
I wouldn't touch that with Monopoly money. No way. Not after a Thursday night. But both teams score no again, minus 115. Fingers crossed this trend continues with Lille games.
Top two, in terms of P&L, both teams to score no in Ligue 1 this season. Lille plus 751 to level stakes throughout the campaign, and Auxerre plus 619. Let's hope that trend continues for those two. Few more leans for you in France, both from James. First of all, Monaco against Angers. Mr. Easton, this is 1 p.m. on Saturday. What's the lean here?
Yeah, the lean is on Monaco here to win the game, Dan. Minus 1 goal start on the Asian handicap, which is available at minus 127. Monaco really short to win the match. They're minus 200 and something, I think. So it's minus 1 on the Asian handicap for me. Nearly an official pick. The reason it's not is there may be a bit of a hangover from Monaco after going out of the Champions League in midweek against Paris Saint-Germain. They were very disappointed to do so, because I think they'll look back over the 2 legs and think, you know what, we had a real chance here of putting PSG out. They've only lost by 1 goal over the 2 legs, and they had a player sent off in both legs. And I think they know deep down that if they'd kept 11v11 on the pitch for 180 minutes, they may have taken PSG to extra time and maybe even more. Who knows? So performance-wise, there was a lot to like about Monaco. I think it's now a case of whether the manager can pick up the players after going out in midweek and get them refocused really on League One, where Monaco do still have plenty to play for. They're currently 3 points below the automatic European positions in League One. I'm backing him to do that. I'm backing the manager to get the players refocused on an eminently winnable game here this weekend. I think Monaco, if they are properly focused and they recalibrate and they think about the league now, this is a game they could win by 2 or 3 goals, because they're facing an Angers side who are really struggling in the final third at the moment. Something I flagged up with 1 or 2 of my player picks recently. They've only scored 2 in their last 5. They lack a single player in their squad with a good scoring record at this level. So very good chance of Monaco keeping a clean sheet almost by default here. And if they do that, they've certainly got the players to win it. So as I say, very close to an official play. It's just a lean, but Monaco minus 1 on the Asian handicap is definitely worth a look.
And the other is another Asian handicap play. This is Marseille against Lyon, which is the main game Sunday, 2:45 here. I've put it down as a quarter ball, but you might want to go half ball here. It's about minus 110, half ball, minus 123 for the quarter ball with Lyon. I'm giving everyone James's lean here, but you think you wonder why Marseille is such strong favourites here. That's the sort of thread of it.
It is indeed, yeah. I was surprised. Marseille are minus money here. They're minus 113 to win the game. Don't really get it, because they've certainly been the second best of the two over the season overall, really, and certainly in 2026, where Marseille have had a stack of problems off the pitch. They've changed their manager. They've gone out of the Champions League and so on. They've got a new manager in now, Habib Bey. They lost 2-0 fairly meekly at Brest last weekend in his first game in charge. There was no sign of an improvement. So Lyon, for me, are slightly underrated here. They've been absolutely brilliant for many, many weeks now. Up until last weekend, we should say, when they did lose for the first time in, I think it was 14 matches. They lost 3-1 at Strasbourg, and deservedly so, because they were second best on the night. But I just feel the long-term form that Lyon have showed means that the plus 280 on them to win is too big. I'm not really prepared to back them to win it, but yeah, plus 0.25 on the Asian handicap, worth a look at plus 123. And like you say, Dan, plus 0.5 on the Asian handicap, where you're going to make a profit as long as Lyon avoid defeat, at minus 110 is also worth a look. I just feel that the market is not fully reflecting, for me, the difference between these two sides in terms of general form over the last 2 or 3 months, I would say. One of the reasons maybe Lyon are such outsiders here, it could be to do with team news. Sulch, who's been an excellent attacking player for them with 10 goals, is out. We think also Afonso Moreira, who's been providing a lot of good quality on the wing, may be out. Now, they may dissuade you from wanting to get on Lyon if it is confirmed they're both out. What that does do is it leads me to a player pick, which I think you should definitely have a look at. Because Sulch is out, who sort of played as almost a hybrid number 10 centre forward and done very well in that position. Because he's out, it means that Corentin Tolisso, the France international midfielder, I think will be asked to get forward a lot more. He's very capable of playing as a number 10. He's sometimes even played as a sort of a de facto centre forward this season. There's space in this side for Tolisso to do more in the final third, I think, than he ordinarily would. And he is plus 123 in the over 0.5 shot on target market. You don't need him to score. I always say that with this pick. It's just about hitting the target. And if Lyon's team news is what we think it will be, then I think Tolisso's a great shout. So take a look at him if you look at the team news and think, do you know what? Lyon's not for me this weekend.
Yeah, he's a lovely player. Had those bad injuries, didn't he, at Bayern? Obviously, he might have been a little bit better, probably would have been. Anyway, that's France done and dusted with. Let's get to La Liga, because we've got an official pick from Steve here in the Oviedo Atleti game, which is 3 p.m. on Saturday. Atleti are minus money favourites. They did make it through to the last 16 of the Champions League, of course, but we're focusing on corners. You said last week you got to swerve Rayo because the game wasn't great. The matchup at Betis wasn't great. Absolutely spot on. Only 8 corners in that game. But Atleti have been on your radar a little bit with corners. I know in the live show you talked about it as well in midweek. What is the play here, Steve?
Over 9.5 corners for a 1-unit official pick at, I think it's minus 112, the latest odds that I saw for that one. Might be a little bit shorter actually now. But Atletico, I think, are my go-to team for corners. In La Liga from this point onwards. I'm not sure about the Rayo match again this week. Got Athletic Bilbao, and Bilbao are kind of a corner killer. So Rayo, although midweek Rayo Oviedo definitely get on the corners there on Wednesday. Can I have that as an official pick on the show? But Oviedo, Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid, mentioned before, average nearly 7 corners per game. Oviedo concede the 3rd most corners in La Liga. But since the new manager took over, they have been racking up a few corners themselves as well. So I think they can contribute because, I mean, they're bottom of the table, but they are showing a few signs of life. They're playing better than Levante, that's for sure. And Atletico, I mean, their issue has been domestically. They've not been ahead in games enough, which means, if they're chasing the game, it means they're probably shooting more and getting more corners by default. So until Atletico start sorting out their domestic form, we're going to continue this corners rise with them, I think. So, I mean, they're actually quite a big price, aren't they? What are they, minus 140 to win? That will really attract a few in, here, Atletico Madrid. But could you trust them in La Liga at the moment? I think they'll win. I think they'll get the result here. But for me, Atletico corners is a really good angle at the moment to go with. And just getting you the latest odds now, it's over 9.5 corners at minus 122. I thought this would be a 10.5 corners line. So it was the obvious 1-unit pick for me. And it's my only official pick in Spain this week.
Got a lean, though, and that's in the Elche Espanyol game, which is 8 a.m. on Sunday. What's the one that was on your 13-match shortlist but didn't make the official play, Steve? What's the bet here?
Both teams score, yes. I mean, Elche, I've got a horrible feeling the 3 teams that came up may well go down. Elche have just started to sink like a stone, haven't they? But this is a match where they might get something. Espanyol have dropped off massively off form since the start of 2026. Main reason is defence has just gone terrible. I mean, they're 7th in the table, Espanyol, but you could see them finishing about 13th at this rate if they keep defending like they have been doing. So Elche have got to look at this game as winnable. They've got to try and get some goals in it. And I thought the both teams to score line was generous at minus 132. 132. Could see this being overs as well, actually. Big price for the overs, considering Espanyol's recent form. Minus 132, though, yeah, I think it warrants lean rather than official pick territory. I had a lot more stronger picks this week. I did actually have another one of my 13 in La Liga was actually Osasuna as well, by the way, plus a quarter at Valencia, but that they don't even make the lean list anymore. But yeah, for me, Elche Espanyol I think could be a match with a few goals in it. But both teams score, yes, would be my official lean.
I was going to press gang these two into a thought on the El Granada, I can't remember what it's called now, Sevilla derby between Betis and Sevilla. And I was going to put up overs here, but I'm just looking through the head-to-head, and this derby is feisty. It's probably just one left alone. But one to watch, 12:30 Sunday. Let's get to Serie A, because we've got 3 leans here. Good leans as well from the boys to finish the show with. James is first up. All games on Sunday. First of all, 6:30 a.m. on Sunday Eastern, which is Cremonese against Milan. James, what is the lean here?
The lean is Milan -1 on the Asian handicap, which is available at minus 122, because Milan very short to win the game away from home, as you would expect against a weak Cremonese side. They're minus 220. It's just a lean here rather than an official play, because I still don't fully trust Milan, which sounds extremely harsh. They're clear in second place in Serie A. They've got a 4-point gap over third place Napoli, but when I watch them, I'm just not convinced they've got a particularly strong way of dominating games, and I keep thinking they're going to slip up. But you have to say, points wise, they've done extremely well, and they should get the win here against a Cremonese side who have really struggled against the top side. So yeah, it's just a lean. It's actually more about Cremonese than it is about Milan. Cremonese's form against the current top 5, which is Inter, Milan, Napoli, Roma and Juventus, has been absolutely awful all season. If you discount the opening day of the season when they won the reverse fixture against Milan, they won that 2-1. Since then, they've played 7 and they've lost 7 against the current top 5, and 6 of those 7 defeats have been by 2 or more goals. So yeah, the lesson with Cremonese is very clear. If they're going to avoid relegation this season, it's going to be by scrapping for points in the bottom half of the table and just about getting enough to stay up, because when they face the top teams, they've really, really struggled. So yeah, Milan should get the win here. As I say, I've been slightly concerned when I've watched them that they're not really dominating games and they can slip up. So it's just a lean, but this is a match they really should win.
Torino, Lazio, Steve, for you, midday Sunday Eastern.
Both teams score no is my lean for this game. So under 2 Asian goals is minus money, which I'd agree with. Yet how can both teams score no be minus 127? It seems far value, much more value compared to that Asian goal line on the unders. I'm not expecting a good game. Is a Lazio game ever a good game? Honestly, this season they've been dire to watch. 0-0s everywhere. Poor matches to watch. And Torino have really struggled of late. Interesting story, actually. Furious Torino fans, you might have seen this one, dumped a heap of manure outside the club's training ground in protest against the owner with a banner which effectively translated to "go and eat crap." So,
things going well then.
Are we going to get a reaction from Torino or not here? But I mean, they're losing so many games of late. A point would be good, wouldn't it? I could see 0-0. This would have been the next cow. If this would have been the 7th pick for me this week officially, this is the closest one to the next pick. Both teams score no. Torino, Lazio at minus 127. It's going to be a dire affair.
Yeah, they had a sort of burst of life with a couple of games. They had 9 goals in 2 games. Yeah. One of them was a Genoa game, I think. But then they've just reverted to type recently. They've been poor. Roma-Juventus is the big game on Sunday, 2:45 p.m. Eastern. I think Roma here, Steve, are sensing a real top 4 push here. And obviously Juve are going to be wounded after that Galatasaray Champions League exit. So again, it's that classic case. Is it a good time to meet them or not? But I'm liking Roma's revival, because I was worried about my top 4 plate. Still not over the line, but I'm fancying them once again. What you got for us in this one?
I've got both teams score yes in this game, and it's close to even money, minus 108. Juventus just can't be trusted defensively, can they? That's the issue. We just know that they make mistakes at the back too often, and they've just played extra time in midweek. They were quite heroic, actually, weren't they, Juventus? Actually taking it to extra time. They've got a lot of heart, this team. No doubt about that whatsoever. But they keep making crucial mistakes, which is costing them. So whilst Roma games have been low scoring this season, they've been a lot of both teams score no in Roma fixtures. I see this as quite an open fixture, actually. Maybe similar to how the Napoli match went recently. Napoli 2, Roma 2 a couple of weeks ago. Could see a similar sort of scoreline once again. I'm not sure what price McKennie is to score a header here.
I'm just looking. He's not. There's nothing.
They're not
at the
offering,
minute.
are they?
There's nothing. At the
Bet
minute.
Rivers are not
yet.
offering.
They might
McKennie
do on
to
the
score
day.
a
They might do on
header.
the day.
He is. He's 9 to 1 to score outside the box, but I'm waiting for that to score a header odds to come out. But yeah, I think this would be a good game. 1-1, 2-2 draw.
Take that. Plus 450 at score any time. Did I see there? Weston McKennie, who knows? His good scoring run might continue. Steve, James, thanks for your company. Brilliant stuff. A lot to digest there. Replay it. Get all the picks down, all the leans as well. Make sure you take the boys' advice. Good luck to one and all. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly. Extra Time European Edition. Follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're dropping on us for the first time. Make sure you give us a like as well. And get your picks in the comment section as well. Who you betting over the course of this European weekend. We'll be back next week. From all of us for now, though, it is goodbye.